You are going to die. Not just you, your family, friends, that person you were scared to say hi to on the train, every homeless person you gave $1 to, and even your thoughts, your unfulfilled dreams, every hour you spent working on yourself, every failed New York trip, every held back emotion, every text you sent, every late night call, every unanswered question, all gone. Oh, and your pets too. If everything else I just said didn't startle you and remind you how utterly terrifying death is. We've been fighting these thoughts of our mortality for eons now. Whether it's the Norse, the Greeks, or the Egyptians, they all created gods to describe natural phenomena. In a similar vein, we also created beliefs about death. All of these phenomena have been solved and thoroughly understood, all but one. Almost every religious scripture or spiritual text has mentioned what's left for us after we leave this world behind, whether that's reincarnation, a golden palace on the clouds, or an eternity burning in hell. But no matter how endless these descriptions of our afterlife or next life will be, there's been no proof of its existence. Science has not come any closer to uncovering what truly happens after we die. Still, we use these beliefs to escape the horrifying, otherworldly reality of death, or how death can be. Quick disclaimer here. Religion is for the hopeful, the sick, the poor, the struggling. Philosophy is for the needy. It's a privilege to sit down and think about your worldly desires and problems. I couldn't imagine telling this to a child in Gaza or someone who doesn't have the space to escape from the world in front of them. So this is for those who can relate, who have been blessed with better odds. We should take that advantage that we have been born with to heal ourselves, so we could then attempt to heal the world. So don't try to push these thinking patterns onto people who can't even be in your shoes, who are not gifted with the access to things like how you are. Alright, back to the video. Albert Camus, a philosopher, novelist, and author famously known for his book, The Stranger. Shout out to my friend for putting me on. He was born in Mondovia, French Algeria, on November 7th, 1913, and passed away on January 4th, 1960, in Villeblevin, France. I'm sorry if I butchered any of these names. For such a short life, his impact on the philosophical world is deeply felt and cannot be denied. Now, why am I bringing up a random philosopher from the 1900s? Well, Camus introduced the world to an idea that points out the irrationality in human existence, which he coined the absurd. Our desire to find meaning in a universe that never had meaning to begin with. Camus' baby, his life's work some would say, Absurdism, is first shown to the world in the late 1930s, with his first collection of essays, Betwixt and Between. These ideas later grew to be more defined in his two famous works, The Myth of Sisyphus and The Stranger, which delved into what the absurd actually is. To understand Camus' ideas, we first have to discuss where it stems from. Existentialism, nihilism, absurdism. They all have one thing in common, whether that's conveyed in the meaningless universe or a world without a definition. It's all spewing out the same message. The world doesn't give a shit about you. In these spaces of thinking, there is no God who created you in his image, nor is there a spiritual purpose you were assigned at birth. We're all simply a grain of sand in a river that is called the universe. We plop into the water, sink, and eventually become forgotten. Now, that thought, understandably, brings dismay or fear. Some of these isms play into that fear, while others rationalize and help negate them. So what separates these philosophies, and why are we focusing on one in particular? Well, if we can imagine the universe being a long flat plane of dirt, then each of these would be tools more or less. Let's look at the oldest of these, nihilism. Now, by definition, it simply holds that existence is meaningless, with no true value in all such things that exist. Now, that isn't a bad thing. I mean, existentialism and absurdism both use that as their base to work with. But as we could see with the work of Friedrich Nietzsche and his idea that nihilism was the result of a lack of God, famously saying, "God is dead." This was his observation as society shifted from a spiritual world to one of secular and scientific thought. According to Nietzsche, a nihilist is a man who judges of the world as it is thought out not to be, and of the world as it is ought to be, that it does not exist, from the will to power. Nihilism was a realization that there is no longer an absolute truth. With that came despair and tiredness in people from grasping that their truths had no legs to stand on. This is just an abbreviated section of Nietzsche's thought, so apologies if the point was missed, but in that case, nihilism will be a bucket. You scoop and scoop until you have covered yourself whole with the dirt you have collected. Existentialism builds on the idea of a meaningless universe by giving humanity the ability to decide what does and doesn't have value. A broken pencil can be just as important as gold. A lifelong relationship can mean nothing at all. We can even see this in our economics. The money we use doesn't have any inherent value. It's paper after all. But we have decided to attach more value and importance to the point where it now dictates our whole lives. We are given the duty to assign value and to make our morals. So in that case, existentialism will be a shovel. You scoop and manipulate the dirt so it can be whatever you desire. You create your reality. Absurdism, being the youngest out of all of these philosophies, takes a similar path to existentialism, a path filled with hope. An absurdist views anything but acceptance of the lack of meaning as an escape route, a way to run away from the world, because in an absurdist's mind, what is there to run away from? Their acceptance of what the world is allows for a release of what was once binding and struggles. A life with no meaning means that anything can be meaningful. There's no true loss. There's no true failure. So what's left is only our perception. Therefore, there's no cage limiting our freedom. Scary, isn't it? The ability to reform your world and to lead each day with hope or fear. But it's in your hands. You have that choice. You are free. And I think I wanted to make this video because for a while now, I had non-stop thoughts of dying. Specifically around the time I'm going to sleep, thoughts of death and death and death keep on coming. And no other time in day does it hit as hard as it does when I'm by myself in my bed about to go to sleep. And recently my grandma had passed, and I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I had seen her. It was early in the morning and I had taken my mom to go see her, and shocking would be an understatement. It was my first time seeing what's left for all of us, you know, what our story ends to be like, you know, no matter what we do, what we try to run away from, what our fears are, what we accomplish as well. There's always going to be an ending to this chapter, an ending to the book. I've been doing research and getting a grasp of what these concepts are for a little while now, maybe around 4 years, but it hasn't really hit me till now. It hasn't really hit me, you know. I remember in the past I've had similar thoughts and I pushed them away. Not pushed them away, but this thinking pattern had helped me see, okay, death is nothing to be afraid of. That's the one thing that is guaranteed. And I obviously don't feel like ending my story shortly. So I should make this life what I want it to be. I should live my life with peace and happiness and adventures and healthy pleasures and things like that, instead of wallowing in my grief of my own death that might come, you know? Because me thinking about it, me obsessing over it is not going to stop it from coming. Whether that's tomorrow, today, 50 years from now, I have no control over that. It's out of my hands. But what I do have influence over, what I do have control over, is my perception, is what I want to accept, is how I want to let these struggles and fears dictate my actions. And I'm a man who believes everyone should be free. So why would I lock myself in a cage, hold myself back, get lost in fears and false hope, when the truth already exists in me? The freedom of perception, the freedom this perception is gifted, allows me to have power, to build what I want to build, to make what I want to make, to live the way I want to live, knowing that if I embarrass myself, if I trip and fall, the eyes don't matter, nothing matters, and that puts a smile on my face. It truly does. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace. I love y'all. Do y'all thing.